eftermiddagen. Välkommen till episod 5 på Mer Motors, men med vän Kyrin och min vän Juan.
Fantastic.
Damn.
What does that translate to? Joseph himself.
He just insulted us for like 20 seconds.
That's welcome to episode 5 of Mere Mortals with my friend Kyrin and my friend Juan.
Very
Excellent.
good.
In Swedish.
There you go.
The most unrequired language, probably. Because
Does anyone else speak Swedish?
just Swedish people. But the thing is, it's why it's not very useful is they can speak English better than anyone anyway. They're way more educated than us.
My mum actually was saying, so she does singing, and she was saying that like in her, so she does barbershop, which is like a cappella, and one of the things that she does is go to like big competitions where they have, I don't know, tons of teams from around the world. And she was saying the Swedish team always wins because their language is sort of like a sing-songy language.
Oh yes, she was saying this. Yep.
So that's interesting.
The
I
tonality.
didn't hear it from you though.
yeah, too much of an accent. But it definitely has its own little. It sounds like it's singing to people. I've heard that before. Yeah. Whereas a funny little thing is the Danish is quite harsh. They say it's like Swedish people who are drunk.
Yeah.
Nice. So there's a bit of tension there.
It's a little bit interesting. I've also I think Uzbekistan or Beristan or something like that. It's another language, but no, that's a country, but that's an actual language.
Oh, like the language.
Yeah.
And that language, I don't know if you've seen videos, but it's like they compare it to an engine starting up in negative 40 degrees temperature. And it's like so to the Uzbekistan or whatever that language is that I've just insulted, I apologize.
Yeah, no, we're doing good. We're already like 3 languages down. Let's just keep going.
Just keep going and just murder all the rest of them. Yeah, very good. So, episode 5, Joey, I wanted to ask you, this is probably a little bit of a podcast that, and I'll probably preface it that, we've planned and you were coming up into Brisbane, you're obviously living in Canberra. We wanted you to come along and really put you as the face off. Okay, what's episode 5 going to be? Like a little mini goal for us on episode 5. And so we thought, all right, Joey can come up with the idea of what's going to be the episide. So what did you come up with?
Okay, so originally it was going to be like, Joe, what did you want to talk about? So like what I'm saying, so I feel like turning 25 has really changed a lot of things in my life. I feel like, or in our lives, it's been a real growth phase. Like I feel like from 12 to 18 to 25, like 3 different people.
Yeah, for sure.
So just the growth and how you thought about things this way, how you think about it from that way. Your polarity changes all the time. So just want to talk about the growth of turning 25.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
And it's not specifically like on the day of turning 25. It's sort of that region surrounding.
Yeah.
Because that's what I noticed as well when you came up with it. I was thinking of like what happened to me, and sort of that 24 to 26 range was when I did a lot of things differently than I had done the previous 24 years. So that was interesting for me.
Yeah. Now I've got a little note for this, but I've got a key question that I'm going to ask here, so I'll put it forward. Firstly, I guess you thought of that theme for it, the 25, Joey. What would you say would be? Was there a key item that sort of thought to yourself again, okay, this is the sort of thing that's made the transition? Could you pinpoint it to one thing that happened, or is it a series of things that happened? And when did you actually realize that you went, okay, that was a transition, like I am now at a different state, I'm a different individual now? If you could put some thought behind that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind would be patterns. As you walk through life day to day, you see, this person is acting this way and they turn out like that. That person's acting like this, they turn out like this. These traits afford you this wealth or this achievement in life. So really turning 25...
So I guess yes. Okay. That's okay.
The biggest thing.
What would you say, Kyrin?
Oh, I got a bunch, man.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about last week in the goals, that was probably when I first created those sort of 8 main goals not goals, the 8 main things I care about, then started working off goals based on those. So that was the first time I really sat down and thought like, okay, what's the most important thing to me, and then getting it down on paper outside of my head, and physically writing it down, having something to look at that I could go back to. That was a pretty big a changing moment for me. That was also the time I quit my work, working in the mines, and I knew that when I was there, I was telling people when I was quitting, like, oh, I'm going to go travel, but I knew I needed a period before I traveled of working on myself, so sort of self-development.
Yeah, and that's so important.
So I came back to Brisbane for that. Well, I was a couple of months before 25 when I first quit. Came back and then spent like roughly a year back home working on myself, and then that's when I went traveling. And that period before traveling, I wasn't ready at the start, but by the end of it, I was ready. I was like, yep, now's the time to go and hit this, I suppose, big lifelong goal that I'd been thinking about for 10 plus years since I was 15, 16.
Yeah. And at 25, did you feel like, oh, okay, I've seen enough, these decisions I'm going to make are what I believe in, and that I have a reason behind all these thoughts I have?
I didn't have the confidence behind it. Okay. I knew I wanted to change. That's I suppose what I knew, and that's one of the hard things you see. It's scary taking that leap of doing something like quitting work, completely upending your life that you had, and doing something new, and that is scary. But it's also, if you're not enjoying where you're currently going, the path you're currently going down, it is something that you do. Well, you need to do something, I suppose, because I met quite a few people. It's interesting, leaving work. Yeah. My last, couple of drinks in the bar, the amount of people I met who were like, oh, so you're just going to travel? And I'm like, oh, yeah, just thinking about it. Haven't got anything tying me down or something. And they're like, oh, man, I really wish I'd done that.
When they were younger.
And you particularly see that in mining because, people are flush with the cash and they get stuck into that income. And then they can't escape that, which can really derail their lives. I think.
And I think it's I guess the interesting point I wanted to, because I'm like reflecting back for myself to share, I guess, that turning point. Yours was, I guess, not as subtle, right? You did the whole, you quit your work, you headed overseas, you did a big travel.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't so much that you were, quarter life crisis, but it was just something that you wanted to do. You wanted to challenge yourself. You wanted to improve, whatever that may be. When I'm thinking, for me, and again, 25, 24 years old, 26 years old, I think mine was a little bit more subtle in the sense that, I'd be in relationships beforehand. Everything was fine. Everything was going good. And it's not so much that, when things ended and they sort of changed across, it wasn't like a huge, massive change. I might have changed jobs slightly to pivoted to another area, but it didn't feel like it was a massive change.
Yeah.
But I think it was that continual, year or 2 years, post that sort of 25, 26, where I sort of spent that time on, as we were saying, sort of self-improvement, really reflecting on your goals, the goal setting, actually caring about what you're doing and improving forward. And I think it was a subtlety of that now if I look back, I'm like, okay, that was really a turning point, but it might not be something that I distinctly saw as a turning point then. So it's hard for me to pinpoint. And with that reason I asked you a question of can you see it exactly as a thing? You say patterns, you say that particular moment or those things. For me, I can't really tell you what was a moment that I went from like this person to that person. But it was a subtle transition for me of going from there to who I am today. So
and the thing with these sorts of things is the moment you don't know it. I mean, I think it's rare to know it in the actual moment that like something pivotal has happened. I think it's something you reflect back on and be like, maybe like, oh, I can see like this was probably the first time I thought in this way. For me, that was ready for an inane story?
Oh,
that's
an inane story.
That's like a pivotal moment of my life.
Before I'm just going to preface this whole conversation with the fact that while we are staying on topic quite a bit right now, this might quickly derange down to just
it's
any
definitely
conversation. But just understand that this episode will go down this path. That is fine. We have Joey. We have to be energetic to be at his level.
Yeah. So I was, I had a roommate. I'd moved back to Brisbane, stayed with my parents for a while, and then I moved to a couple of places. And I had a roommate, this girl, and we lived in West End. And she went for holidays to her parents' place, incidentally, in Mackay. So we sort of like switched places. And I remember just being in the house one day, and we sort of started off being okay, but then we just like gradually distanced each other out. And so like we'd sort of be like, oh hey, hi, if we see each other in the kitchen. But we really just stuck to our own two places. We didn't talk or communicate that much. And so there was like a tiny bit of animosity growing.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out one day and she'd already left. I knew she'd left. And I went to go grab a cutting board. There's no cutting boards in the house. And I brought one as well. So there was two cutting boards in the house. One of them was hers, one was mine. And neither was in the space where it usually was.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? It's probably in the dishwasher. Maybe she moved it somewhere.
Yep.
I'll just go find it and then I'll continue my cutting of delicious vegetables.
Yep.
I looked everywhere. And I could not find these cutting boards. And I was outraged because if she wants to take her own, that's fine. But she takes my cutting board?
And take the cutting board.
That is ridiculous. No. What am I? I'm like a barbarian going to cut my salad on a plate?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Not today.
I cut my meat on the kitchen bench top.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's savage. Add some dirt next time. Then he'll be impressed.
Yeah.
So I was fuming. Like, I spent an ungodly amount of time thinking about this cutting board and being just really pissed off that this girl would do this.
Yeah.
And one day I just realized I've spent probably cumulative 5-6 hours being super pissed off and angry about this.
Yeah.
And then one day it was just it's done. And I sort of just took that step back and was like, maybe it is somewhere else. Maybe there's a reason this happened. Why are you attributing all these bad intentions to this girl? She's not here to defend herself. It just seems so stupid. And in the next hour, I found the cutting board. It was just in the drawer below where I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And so that was one moment where, looking back now, I'm like, okay, I think that's probably the first time I really had some self-awareness of my emotions, of being like...
Okay. Of being a mere mortal. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Of letting them control me, and then taking that step back and sort of not controlling them, but recognizing that they're controlling me. And it's just a subtle difference, but it does make a big difference.
Oh, 100%. So I'll let you gather your thoughts for the next piece after this in your notes, but one thing I posted recently, and I heard it from, I believe it was mentioned in the Jocko podcast 197, and it wasn't implicitly said, but I then sort of looked it up and found this particular quote, and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is really good. And it relates to heaps of things, and it was coined for something else, and I posted it the other day for something about mental health. But this particular thing was, well, the quote is, the map is not the territory.
Yep.
And I thought that was a brilliant quote. Because when you actually think about it, from what you're saying there, right, it considers across a lot of things. A lot of people will look at it as the map. You will get this piece of paper, you will have something drawn on there as that's the plan, that's the goal, or, this is what you see at the surface level. So, in that case with that story, all you're seeing is at surface level, I had this board, it's not there, she must have taken it. That is the deductive logic. I'm letting my emotions drive this. My amygdala reactions are telling me this is what it is.
Yeah.
Where there's that quote, I love it because, everyone gets focused on the map.
Yeah.
Right? The map, that's everyone cares. And then not looking at the territory.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the actual thing of what's going on. So the actual quote, when I was listening to Jocko, he talked about that individuals, when they're out in the field and they're operating, everyone gets caught up in we're going to go out there and this is the map.
Yeah.
This is where we got to go to. And then you get it in the terrains actually where you got a 1 kilometer mountain in front of you and actually you didn't know about that. So it's a little bit like you've got to be aware that while there's those emotions and you see it at a first initial level, at a high level, the actual terrain and what actually transpires and what's actually happening can be completely different. And you got to understand that's the real important level.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's when you can spin your gears as well. Like, because you'll be like, well, the map says this. And then there's a big rock in front of you, and you try and walk into the rock, and it's it says on the map it shouldn't be here, and you're getting angry at the map, you're getting angry at the rock, rather than just walking around.
I'm considering our audience is smart enough not to walk into a rock. I understand, Kyrin, that perhaps
we hang out in different circles.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Joey, how are you going?
Rock exposed.
So no, but you got a couple of notes, Joey. Give us some of your wisdom. I want to hear some of the Canberrian wisdom.
Thanks. So I realised I didn't introduce myself at the start. So, my name's Joey. I'm best friends with these two lovely men. Mere mortals, though. Just mere mortals. Make mistakes all the time. We went to school together. I moved to Canberra seeking an opportunity to continue my career. And I switched jobs, so working for Con A in the company I want to work for. But I've had a few mere mortal moments in my in my journey with the company I want to work for. One that comes to mind is I was so excited for my job that I had my cousin come down. And I was like, why don't you put some tradie clothes on, hop in my van, and you can just come work with me. Right? So I'm going around, right? And I'm doing service work. I'm an electrician. So. Worst thing is, this is the third day after we've been working together. Not allowed, right?
So let me. So there's a third day that you got your cousin working for you. Like he just threw on the tradie clothes. Yeah, go and work with me. Yeah, okay. Right, I'm just trying to set the scene here. Okay, good.
Yeah. So we start work, right? We hop in the car and we drive. About 2 kilometers outside the house, we run up the arse of a car in front of us. Fucking totaled my car. His car will never be driven again. It was like 25k Nissan something 25 sedan.
Yeah.
And he's in the car. And he should not be in the car in Con A clothes at all. I shouldn't mention the company's name. Hopefully.
It'll be right.
Yeah, I'll beep it out.
Yeah.
Beep it out. And like literally I should have been sacked there and there because the big boss of company comes to us and he goes, what the fuck is this guy doing in your company clothes? And what the hell? And I was like, yeah, sorry about that. We drive back, he drops off my cousin, and then we go back. So I guess that was a point where I hit my bottom, and that's the first thing that comes to mind. And
I want to ask a question around that. So you got your cousin to come with you, obviously, to chuck on the clothes. Why did you actually get him? Like, you obviously said that you were so excited that you wanted him to come along to like experience that, or what was the reason you actually got him to come on, like just to drive around with you and work?
Yeah, well, it was to do with leadership because my cousin's 16 at that point, and just dropped out of school, so it was like, come work with me, you can see what it's like.
Yeah.
To cruise around, do my job. It's cool. It's a cool life I live, So that was the reason behind it. So there's good intentions, I guess. Good intentions. That was the reason behind it. But at the end of the day, thanks for asking, Juan. But at the end of the day, that was a point where I could have lost my job, and I've talked a lot at length about how much I wanted to work for this company. So it really bottomed out there, and since then I've really switched up, and I've taken on plenty of courses and try to be a leader in every way I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose that shows a couple of good things. Yeah. Like, one, Con A obviously saw some potential in you. Yeah. Because otherwise, why would they have kept you? Yeah. And, that's turned out really well. Because you've really tightened it up since then. Yeah. You're definitely, putting in the extra hours after work, reading up on playing, what's that, switchboard you're playing with? Or
like little
like
printed circuit boards. Yeah. Yeah. They're just electronics.
Yeah.
And I think what we're talking about it right now, and we just talked about 25 and the turning point, and maybe we're giving people the impression that from there to now, it's been it has been a big switch, especially for Joey. But I think I want to take it back because my follow-up question, I just want to get Joey to respond around this because tonight we have a 10-year high school reunion.
Yeah. Yep. 10 years.
And I want to just be clear that the Joey that is sitting next to me is not the same Joey that was at the high school 10 years ago. So my one question I want to ask you is, because when we knew you in high school, I guess if I had to describe you in attributes in terms of a couple of things, it might have been a little bit of, you're a shy individual, a quiet individual. There might have been leadership there internally, but you might not have exposed that or shared that across. I guess I want to get your point of view. Again, talking turning point, I know we talked about 25 years old. That might have been the key crucial time around it. But how did you feel that transition going from maybe that individual in high school to you moving away to Canberra?
Yep.
Obviously starting that job and going towards that progression to where you are now. Like, if you sort of had to compress that down into maybe a couple of minutes, what were you then compared to what you are now? Because the follow-up to that is I want you to share a little bit of what you're up to now from a leadership perspective. I know, because I know you're doing quite a few things and getting involved in Canberra. So I want to kind of take it from the start and just get a couple of minutes around that.
Okay, so we can start from 16, 17, 18. So, like you say, shy and all these things. Well and truly a virgin. No, well and truly, and definitely no women inside at 18. Shy. Social groups have always been a thing. I feel socially has been the way I've grown mostly in life, through friends, colleagues, and role models.
Yep.
They've sort of been the three main courses for growth.
Yep.
Social growth. From 18 you just got high school. You got your groups of friends. You got your people you grew up with. However, going in, starting a trade, you're working with all different types of people. You're working with fucking psychopaths. You're working with people that are way too chilled out. You're working with stoners. You're working with hyper intelligent people. There's just all different types.
Yeah.
So you pick up this, pick up that, pick up this, pick up that, and I guess you learn. So that was a big time during my course of being an apprentice. It was just social learning, dealing with all these different people, and then picking out what you want to become. So as it moves forward into 25,
because when did you actually move to Canberra?
I moved to Canberra when I was 23. So
okay. So
I just had a chat with my cousin about this. I was like, the sooner you move out, I think you just grow quickly.
When you landed in Canberra, when you first, think about it, first week in Canberra, were you a different individual already then, as opposed to when you were here in Brisbane? When you were 20 years old, were you already a bit of a different person then? Did you feel like?
Yep, definitely. There was growth the whole way along. Yeah.
Okay.
As you take that responsibility of getting into your own place in a new city, starting a new life, you're like, shit, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's kind of it's like in Pokemon where you're wearing an XP share. You get no. What is it? No, when you're on fucking don't stop swearing. Shh. When what's it called? You trade Pokemon with another person.
Yeah.
It's kind of like XP or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like moving to Spain. Traveling through another country, just
South America,
South America,
Spain, similar thing. Yeah. So if we have the world map here, and here's Europe, and here's South America, and here's Australia, that's Spain, and that's South America, but pretty much the same. It's just within 10,000 kilometers. So it's pretty close. It's pretty close. No, and I just want to get this last bit out because I want to make sure you sort of share it.
Yeah.
What you're up to now, from your leadership perspective, because I know you joined the national.
Yeah, I joined the Labor Party.
Labor Party, yeah.
Believe you me, I don't believe. I didn't join them because I like them.
No. Yeah, it was interesting because you said you joined them because you thought they'd have more conflicting ideas than what you currently have.
Yeah, so whenever my parents are quite involved in the Labor Party, my grandparents I should say, and just everything they say I vehemently disagree with.
Yep.
So I figured if I joined them, it would be greater spectrum for creating change. Yeah, that's what I believe. So with regards to leadership, and thanks for asking. if you're unhappy with the way things are going, just you got to change them. So and lots of things were, made lots of mere mortal mistakes. So
yeah, as we all do.
And I'm still at the start of the journey. I've done nothing basically at this point. I've done nothing. So nothing compared to you guys. But I'm still at the start.
But you're also taking at the moment.
I'm taking a leadership course. I'm dealing with things at work and taking on extra responsibilities. Trying to be the best version of myself.
Yeah, and I think
in your family life as well.
Yeah.
It sounded like it might be too personal for here, but definitely saw that you stepped up when your family was having some issues, and that's super amazing to see. Super inspirational. Definitely from my point of view, and
I think people people can always think that leadership has to equate to, well, then you're the CEO, you're the boss of a company, you're leading this, you're like super successful, and that may be the superficial what everybody thinks, and it is the leadership ratio. But like to me, as you were just saying, like it is more impressive when you are in a leadership, or you display that leadership attribute and aspects when people least expect it. When it's when there's in the family sort of contingency, when, as you were saying, like, you're talking about with your cousin, and I know that you obviously get in trouble and things happening with the car, right? But that is an attribute of leadership that not all the people would consider a leadership thing. The fact that you sort of, you took him under the wing whether you knew it or not, as he's dropped out of school, I just want to show him, the ropes, what it means to work, whatever it is. You took steps towards that to kind of showcase that. And I think people just get too wrapped up in the fact that leadership means that you look after 100 people and you tell them what to do, right?
Yeah, like they see the bossing side component of it.
Yeah.
You tell this person to do this, but it's really the opposite way, because those people need to stay with you. Yeah. And if you're too bossy, they'll go, and if you're too lax, they'll go. Yeah. And
So the way that the whole, and so we're going to take a little bit more businessy side of things. The way that it was all originally ever set up, right, when you had managers and you had your leaders and your bosses and you had a workforce that worked underneath you, that was normally, and it was set up for the, the workforce in the, sort of supply chain when you're building your cars at factories. That was all set up in that relational manner. Yep. So anyone who was underneath you, you were usually more experienced, you had more knowledge, so no one would actually question you back around that. So leadership in 40, 50 years ago was all about the fact that, yes, I'm telling you to do this and I need you to do that because I actually know better, because it's just a linear sort of understanding, right? Yep. Whereas now, what's happening now has been happening for a lot of years, right? It's a lot more of knowledge workers. So people are starting to, either people realize it and then they actually get on board and understand it, or they become what you will understand to be terrible bosses and terrible managers and terrible leaders. Because everyone now, it's a knowledge worker style of environment, right? Where the people who you look after generally know more of the detail and the information that you do, and that's okay. Yeah, that's true. But the true leadership attribute is to actually bring them on board, take them on the journey, get them to actually deliver a particular goal or whatever. And those are the real leadership attributes. So when you were talking about the fact that you bring your cousin on board and you're getting them those things, those are the same attributes and those similarities that is needed, in the future, in the years to come, because the ability to just know things and tell people what to do, that's an outdated thing from 50, 60 years ago, when people worked in those factory settings, right? So as we move forward and people are continually learning beyond, the speed even the universities can deliver. So, I'm just talking in the tech sector. If you look at now, things like here in Brisbane, QUT, UQ, they're giving courses for artificial intelligence or for whatever IoT devices and that sort of stuff. That stuff's already been an industry for 10 years. Yeah. Right? That's already, by the time you finish your degree, you're already behind. Yeah. Because you're not even up to like the latest thing that's happening, because it's moving that quickly. Yeah. So there's no way that you as a boss, you as a leader, you as a person looking after someone are going to have any possibility to be able to look after that straight away and be like always on top of it. You're not.
So is that the reason why they're moving towards that knowledge-based management?
Exactly. You're right. So the good leaders, you'll understand it. Like you're displaying the attributes that require that. Yeah. A good leader will understand, well, okay, I've got 8 individuals and they're experts in this area, they're experts in that. You do not tell them, hey, you should do it this way and you should do it that way or whatever. More of what a leader should be doing nowadays is understanding, okay, here's the goal. 1, be able to, inform everyone below you this is the goal that we're going to work towards, communicate that efficiently, and then effectively get them to work in a way that you deliver something to a timely manner, whatever it may be. And that's the leader's role. Some people call it a servant leader. So a servant leader is, you essentially can have a team, the team's delivering everything or doing whatever it may be to get the product or the outcome, the goal, and you are just serving them to enable that. Right, that's what the leader is doing.
Yeah.
So I think those are attributes, and so obviously what you've mentioned there. Be aware that just because you called it out to yourself, you haven't achieved what other people had done in this or that. Prefacing the fact that you still got some attributes and skills that probably outdo both me and Kyrin miles above, right? But maybe sometimes in the we won't get into it, but some of the things that you've done to be super ballsy and interact with people and that shows a level of charisma, understanding, your talking perspective, everything, where it's beyond even what most people will even understand to know and how to do. So I think it's just that being aware that leadership just has those variety of factors, and it is a changing thing. So.
For sure. Damn, dropping some knowledge, one.
Dropping the bombs.
Yeah,
Not even any notes. Not even any notes.
How real leaders do it. It's all up in here. Yeah. Very good, very good.
I have to start monetizing after that speech.
Exactly. I could feel the dough rolling.
Tune in from 34 minutes to 36 minutes, Juan Grados, knowledge.
Dropping bombs, yeah, exactly. That'll be a pull out of it. Now, Kyrin, did you have any other notes around the 25 turning point?
I didn't feel old until I hit 26. In my mind, I had 0 to 25, not 0 to 25, 20 to 25.
Yeah.
As like one chunk.
0 to 25, mate.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm planning for 100.
Yeah.
And then I had like 26 to 29. So I felt like no gap from going 24 to 25. I was like, oh yeah, that's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like 25 to 26. I don't know, I just felt old. Like, not it's like grandpa old, but 26-year-old old.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That subjective feeling of being like that number just in your head.
Yeah.
You hear people saying, oh, I hit 30 and like it's so different. I just felt that a little bit, and then it went away super quick.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was just one weird thing I felt.
Yeah, okay. The reason I ask you that is because I've got a question in my mind, but it's not about this thing at all. So I want to make sure we get through the topic at hand of today, so that people can get to this point if they want to and go, okay, cool, I've listened to the podcast, episode 5, I've learned some stuff. Because beyond this, we're going to get into some wild laughter and wild fun, so it's going to be okay. So I want to, unless you got any other notes, Joey, that you want to share? I listened to this the other day in a podcast. It might have been a little while, like it's an older podcast. But I thought it was a brilliant question to ask because it makes you think. So I'm going to ask it. I'm going to let you think about it. And I'll try to give you a bit more explanation behind it. It's a little bit of a, which one would you rather?
Okay, I do enjoy
Very
this.
good.
Do you believe Mother Teresa, right, Mother Teresa, is a bad person, a selfish person? And the reason, I'll compare to Bill Gates. So the description that they were talking about to preface this question was, their point of view was, well, Bill Gates, and if you don't know the backstory of Bill Gates, he was like, when he was sort of growing through making Microsoft, he was very dominating. He did a lot of things to make sure that he was like the big player in the computing space. Build up massive amounts of wealth by doing a lot of things. But now that he's got huge amounts of wealth, he now gives back billions of dollars in charity to, he is able to just wipe malaria if he wants to and go and do that, and he is actively doing that.
Oh, if he hasn't done that already, I'm not impressed.
Yeah. So they were saying that in a comparison between Bill Gates there to Mother Teresa, where Mother Teresa is just going out and helping out people right now, she's more selfish because what he's doing is building wealth first and then being able to share back a lot more and make a bigger impact, as opposed to her just going out and doing it. So they were kind of describing it well. Actually, sorry, probably not selfish.
Yeah,
let's just say
selfish wasn't
they're
right
saying,
word.
Is Bill Gates doing the better thing as opposed to a Mother Teresa?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard of effective altruism.
No,
but explain it.
It's basically a movement of I suppose, socially conscious people who are like, altruism is giving without getting anything in return, like nothing.
Yeah.
and it's very hard to see genuine acts of that because you're not going to hear about it. Like you hear about the people giving 20 million to charity, but then they get a plaque with their name showing how charitable they are on a building or whatnot.
I'm gonna have to get Andrea in here to talk English.
Yeah. So there's this movement called effective altruism, which is, and I believe like the leader of that is this guy called William McCaskill, and he's been on the Sam Harris podcast a couple of times. And basically they're like doing the things that are the most effective, like the most effective use of your resources to get the most outcome. So for example, say you have $1,000 and you've got 2 charities. Using effective altruism, you'd put it towards the one that would do the most good.
Yeah. Or the
that's where it gets hard. Yeah, or the least harm. And that's where it gets hard because it's like, okay, what's better, saving 10 children's lives from a very rare, expensive procedure to remove a cancer, or improving 100 people's lives from destitute poverty to, they've got a roof over their heads and the bare minimal. Like, what's better, a life or one life or like 10 improved lives? So just going on that, definitely wouldn't use selfish as the right way of describing that, because I don't know.
Which is the more, well, we would say would be the more, which is doing the most good. Who's doing the most good in that example I just gave you? Bill Gates or Mother Teresa?
Yeah, I'd go Bill Gates. I don't actually know that much about Mother Teresa though, so
neither do I.
I just know the name.
Yeah,
and it's associated with good. So
I don't know. It was an interesting question. That like, I heard said, and I was like, oh, it made me think for a little while, because straight away, if you like, I don't know, if someone said it to you like, oh, Bill Gates and Mother Teresa, you'd probably be like, oh, Mother Teresa, straight away. But then if you kind of think about it a little bit and be like, oh, well, who's being the most effective overall? Perhaps it is Bill Gates.
Yeah, Mother Teresa. Well, I guess I'll play the role of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is being a very good feminine role model. Like she's like caring for people, and, being a loving figure. I think she's doing that. Like that, being a role model in that instance, you could argue for Mother Teresa.
Yeah. Okay.
She, like that. That's the only one of a kind, I think.
Yeah, and it's rare to see someone who's like gone through their whole life untarnished, essentially.
Yeah.
Usually you find out the bad stuff of people after their deaths, and then you're like, oh wow, that guy was actually, he was super good in this one area, but in this other area he was a total asshole.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe she's still got some skeletons in the closet.
Skeletons in the closet. Okay.
Out,
now I know, Kyrin, you've got
I got a question for you.
You got a question.
So you come home from work one day, and there's this lady there.
Okay.
And she's got a pot. And I'm talking a pot like the size that you'd cook a big thing of pasta in. And it's got the pot and it's got the lid.
Yep.
And she tells you, all right, I will give you $1 million.
Okay.
But for the next 2 years, you must keep this pot with you. You don't have to physically keep it with you. You have to touch both the pot and the lid once a week.
Yeah.
If they get damaged beyond, like, let's say, less than, it's like 90% damaged, or like, no, 10% damaged.
Yeah.
You die. You just die instantly. Ooh. If you don't touch it, you die instantly.
And it's once a week.
You have to touch it once a week. And if the pot and the lid touch each other, you die. So you can't just keep it around your house using it for cooking pasta. You want to be like making sure those two things are separate.
Hold on, okay, so she's giving you a pot with the pan. Is it on top of it still at the moment, or she's giving you separate?
It's like as soon as she hands it to you and you take it off, as soon as you remove it,
begins. Yeah.
Begins. And you have to remove it.
Yeah,
because you're really hungry and you got some pasta cooked.
Yeah, like there's pasta in there. Yeah. And $1 million.
$1 million.
Okay.
So like how? So for me, I was thinking like logistically how I'd go. About
okay.
that.
So the question here is not that if you do it or not. The question is how you would do it.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I was thinking like, well, if I've got to touch it, I'd probably want it to be in a place where I'd definitely keep them both separate, so that no one's gonna come into my house one day and accidentally like just find this pot and be like, oh, where's the lid? Wander upstairs and then find it, sitting on my bed, and then they're like, oh, cool, now I can cook my pasta.
Walk back down. Oh shit, Kyrin's dead.
Kyrin's expired.
Oh man, that was weird. So, but then again, like you wouldn't want to just like chuck it in the backyard, because then who knows what could happen with it? Could get damaged, then you die. So
I mean, that's.
so
I feel like you're not thinking about it clearly enough here. That's the most terrible answer of logistics ever. You're given $1 million. I would spend 200 grand.
No.
I would buy.
You get the $1 million afterwards.
Oh, afterwards. After 2 years.
After 2 years.
Ah, okay. All right. I would probably buy a little safe. Like a little safe, right, with 2 layers. Put the pan at the bottom. Put the top of it at the top.
Okay.
Lock that baby up, and every week I just open it up. Little touches. And just lock it and make sure only I knew it.
Yeah.
Only I knew it.
What about if you're going traveling?
Take the safe with me.
Okay, you're taking a safe.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, look.
You're spending your $1 million.
If you're getting
travel.
If you're getting $1 million, if you're getting $1 million in 2 years, I just wouldn't travel for 2 years.
Yeah.
I just go. No, I'm not. No. Yeah, but yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard.
Yeah. I don't know.
But you can take like small travels here.
Okay, so you're telling me. Okay, so you're telling me that if you had this pot and this top, you would travel with it.
Oh, if I was going somewhere that required like a big distance, yeah, definitely. I'd put the pot in my carry-on. The lid in my carry-on.
Yeah.
Just keep it with me, and the pot. I don't know. You'd have to just trust your luggage is okay. Maybe I just give the pot to my girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
And she can be the one carrying a pot around.
With pasta or rice or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
With a bit
Even
of food.
better. You got food on the plane.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd probably do something like that. I think.
Joey, what do you reckon? How would you logistically do it?
First things first, you got to put it in some foam or some. You got to put it in some foam or
Yeah,
bubble
yeah.
wrap, and then you got to secure it. I'm with one. You got to secure it in something.
Yeah.
But you want to move. So you got to put it in your van. And luckily you have. Luckily you've already got a van. So what you got it wrapped. You got it in a safe that only you can open up.
Yeah.
No one else can open it up, right? So you got to put it in that safe. Boom. Touch. Now you drive your car. Pretty often. But sometimes you forget. You know, life gets busy. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're doing this. You're doing that. Now. Every 7th time you drive your car, you wire something up, you do something a little bit tricky, and you'd be like, the car won't start unless I touch mine.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And that way,
that's a good point.
You're self-aware. Now, if you ever need to fly, sorry, Kyrin, I'm very serious. If you ever need to fly anywhere, you don't.
You take your van.
You just drive.
Drive.
If you want to go to Australia to Spain, which is in South America, you just drive.
You just drive. Yeah. Catch a ship. You know.
Yeah. Just get the car, get the van in there.
That's how I do it, and I would take my $2 million and
What sort of code would you have on your safe? Like, would you make it?
24036 or something like that.
So how many numbers are?
That's actually my pin. Delete.
We'll beep that one out. I would make it a 13-digit character.
Yeah, but then you run the risk of
what's your digits?
What if you forget it?
No, I wouldn't.
But what if you
be like
13 digits?
What if you get knocked out?
320036924103.
Yeah, there's no way you're remembering that.
Just go back to the podcast.
320036924103.
That's it.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
remember
easy as code. I'll break into that.
Yeah,
Go. What is it? What's the code? Go back.
3666292.
No, it's 32003692420003.
That was definitely not a 4.
That's definitely wrong. There was no floor.
Yeah,
And that was like 15 numbers.
Oh my god. No. 32003692420003.
It's a
That's way more than 15 numbers.
credit card number.
After this,
Okay.
you can
just
listen to it
just
again,
go
and
with
every time it'll be the same number. I can promise you that.
Yeah, because it's your credit card number.
He doesn't know. The credit card number's like 7178 something.
People at home.
Where do you live?
So and if you turn over the card, what's the 3 numbers on the back? Oh yeah. Okay. So that's how you break into people.
Yeah, my code's 321.
Speaking of numbers, a little bit more back. I don't know if I've even told you this when you were talking about charity and stuff like that. I wanted to see if you thought this the same. It's if you tell a story that's focused on an individual or a specific story, you will buy into it and want to be. You're more charitable towards it than when they expand that out into a highly scalable thing.
Yeah.
So if you just take malaria. If you get told a story like, there's an individual, Emily, she's living in Ethiopia, she's got malaria, this is how she lives, blah, 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 blah. She might die soon. If you're able to donate at least $100, she's able to lead a better life.
Yeah.
Telling that story, it's been proven like scientifically that people will donate more money. But if you then move that up to, there's 1,000 kids in Ethiopia suffering from Malaysia, please donate $100. People donate less.
Yeah.
Because you remove that connection, that emotional connection to the storyline of that particular person. But, in that altruistic, if you think about it from like that, how effective is the money going? If $1,000 affects, say, those 1,000 people equally the same, as opposed to just giving that money to the one person, all the money gets distributed the same. Yeah. It's weird that it actually, to you internally, you give money for that particular story than you would for the higher level.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot behind that because you just can't handle big numbers, especially when it comes to people.
Well, especially when it comes to Kyrin at the gym. Yeah.
Not recovering from that.
So just to give people, today we went to the gym with Kyrin, and I decided to do some benching with Kyrin's heaviest deadlift weight, and then just rep it out for a couple.
It was a bit above my head.
It was above Kyrin's heaviest deadlift, and I just decided to do some benching with it today.
Yeah.
So,
very good.
Yeah, it was an exciting time.
I'm not sure infinity exists. I think there's just really large numbers.
Have you heard of alpha? You were saying numbers, and people can't really understand numbers conceptually in terms of size.
Yeah.
Have you heard or seen the video called the Infinity Hotel?
No.
So the Infinity Hotel talks about. You can also refer, and the terminology might be wrong, so don't hate on me if this is actually wrong. So you can also term.
Good disclaimer.
Yeah. Everything that follows on from this is incorrect potentially. So take it with a grain of salt.
I think it was 32.
So the Infinity Hotel, the idea behind it is that most people, if you say infinity, it just makes no sense in someone's mind.
Okay.
You can call it a terminology of it is called alpha 0. And there's alpha 1, and then it goes continually. It's a different levels of infinity. So the one infinity they talk about is, imagine it's a hotel, and it's got infinite rooms. So just because it's got infinite rooms, there's a hotel manager who takes care of it or whatever, and then one more person rocks up to the infinity room. Now he wants to try and get as much money, right? He wants to get infinite money.
Yeah.
So what he does is he thinks of an idea. He's like, okay, well, that's easy. I'll just get the person who's in room 1 to move to room 2, the person in room 2 to move to room 3, the person in room 3 to move to room 4, so on, so on, so on, so on. And it's a 1 plus, it's an n plus 1.
Yeah.
So everybody moves, and then the next guest can go through because there's infinite rooms.
Yeah.
So you can get another person. But now what happens and that's still in the alpha 0 state. So that's what's called alpha 0 still. So then you could get a infinite amount of people to come in. So infinite amount of people rock up.
Yeah.
What do you do? Shit, well, that's a lot of people. That's so.
Oh, really?
But you got infinite rooms.
Yeah.
What you can do is, well, the hotel manager's pretty intertwined with the mathematics, and he understands that. The prime numbers are actually infinite as well. There's an infinite amount of prime numbers that continue on, and they only match with each other. As in 1, 3, 5, 7, they only multiply each other. So he thought, okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll get every prime number individual in each room to move to the next prime number because there's infinite of them.
Okay.
And then I can fit infinite people into those infinite spaces. So that's all sits, and when you think about it, right, it starts going a little bit weird in the logic, but that's all called alpha null or alpha 0, which is the first level of infinity. Because even if you add infinity to infinity, you still got infinity. And it's in just this grouping of, while it's a size and it can still expand based on an infinite number of people, it's still a very small thing. And when I'm talking about the prime numbers, or you can just go n plus 1, you can do that because they're rational numbers. That's alpha null. But then you get alpha 1 is what they talk about. And that's when you start talking about, well, not just rational numbers, but irrational numbers, negative numbers, fractional numbers, imaginary numbers. That is the next level of an infinity, because then you have infinities within the infinities of your fractional levels, your negative levels, and then at that point that's
where you lost Joey.
But at that point, so when you call it the alpha 1 or just not alpha null, you cannot use the same terminology. So if the hotel manager all of a sudden has an infinite amount of people in an infinite amount of people in a bus, and there's infinite buses, but there's fractional infinities to all of them. You cannot do that, what I just said anymore. You can't just go +1 to those rooms. It's just, the number's too huge. So there is different levels of infinity.
It's too huge.
It's too huge. It's beyond infinity. So
see, that's why I want to be a mathematician. You can just make up absolute bullshit. That was bullshit. and then get away with it somehow.
Now, I might have just destroyed that video because it's a 17-minute video, and it's interesting video. It's a TED Talk. So as you can see, I'm not prepared for TED Talk just yet. No, I feel like I can't sell myself as a mathematician that understands infinity and alpha. I'm gonna research after this if it's alpha zero or alpha null. I think it's alpha null. But it's an interesting concept because it's, when people say infinity, it means such a different terminology of what it could actually be and what it makes up.
I'm sure it somehow makes sense if you have like IQ 140 and above. But,
so I hit 230 when I hit 25. So I can understand. So I can understand, like, you guys, when you get to 40 and you get to about 220, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I remember first when I went from 15 to 16 and I hit that 180 IQ, and I thought, man, I could see flavors. So that's when I knew I'd got into like the right level. And now at 230, I don't know, you can start seeing through walls, and I was like talking to someone about like the X-ray machine, and I was like, I can see the purple coming through. So you start seeing different things. You'll get there eventually.
See, I think my IQ is capped at my bench, so I'm like around 80.
Oh yeah, okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
What is tasting colors like?
What is
tasting? What is it?
No, seeing colors.
Oh, you can see colors.
No, I was seeing taste. I said I can see taste.
Like 500, man.
No, I can see taste.
You can see taste.
I can see taste. Yeah. It's a song by Tigger, so it's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. I got don't have any other notes in my mind or anything to sort of share. Is there anything you guys want to share at all?
Nothing comes strikingly. You got a nice blue shirt, Joe.
You do. It seems like a good video.
Yeah.
Polo.
Yeah. So I'll wrap it up here. Yeah. I want to wrap it up.
Thanks, Kyrin. Thanks a lot. Episode
5. I loved having this conversation with you, Joey. I told Kyrin just a little bit earlier. You gave me a call on Thursday, and I was so energized by just hearing your voice through the phone that I was just on cloud 9 while we were having a chat.
Throwing the weights around.
I was kicking those. I was throwing everything around. So, look, from what you shared, I think it's good to note and call out that, that turning point that you're talking about, and I think everyone's going to go through it, whether it's 25 years old, whether it's younger, whether it's older, whether it's a thing that happens, whether it's a subtlety, whether it's whatever movement or whatever it may be. I think it's different for everybody. So just as you shared and Kyrin shared and I shared, it's individualistic to each person, and just because it's not happening now or at 25 doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. But I'll say that it isn't going to happen if you don't actually act towards it and put some effort towards it. So all these changes and things that we were talking about, I think, had a hell of a lot of effort behind how we were putting it.
It's not like you can just turn 25 and then things change.
You're not just going from a 60 IQ to 230 and starting to see colours. That's crazy.
It took a lot of hard work.
It's a hard work. So there's actual effort in getting to that point. So it was good to have you on the podcast. It was good for you to share some of the stories, and I'm sure we'll have you back on at some point when you're back up in Brisbane to have a bit of another discussion to see how we're going from there.
Yep, definitely. Play around with some, get a new microphone, maybe do some inter-city.
Yeah, inter-city discussions.
That'd be cool.
Yep. So take it,
Okay, well, to finish off the podcast, taximike, that's thank you very much, and dichotomy.
Nice.
Good, okay. One out.
Kyrin out.
Joey out.